Well, moving right along then, I had the immense privilege of traveling to and working in Haiti, or Haiti as the locals call it. Go ahead. To give you an idea of where I was at, we're way up there somewhere. Flew into Port-au-Prince and you drive 83K, which takes about 3.5 hours. It's like 50 miles, 51 miles. To Misac, which is near Jacmel, the third largest city in Haiti. I resided on top of a mountain. It was a wonderful mountain. Misac was the city, if you could call it a city. This was more the countryside, so city is relative. But it was in the area of La Vallée, which is atop of this mountain, in the county of Sud-Est in Haiti. The city itself, Misac, has 24 different localities, and I worked in Misac 1 and 2. That was where I was centrally located, and that's where the Shalom zone was located, attempting to create change in that one small space and then work out from there. On top of the hill, there was a fairly large population, but everybody was spread out across the mountain. Oftentimes you walked or you rode a motorbike along these paths to get to where you wanted to go. There are common themes in many of these Shalom zones. There are a lot of problems. Communities oftentimes have problems. Haiti is certainly unique in the sets of problems that exist. For example, extreme poverty. So many of the individuals that I worked with live with less than $1 a day. Much of the population is under the age of 18, and this was particularly daunting. 76% of women experience rape or violent abuse and or gender discrimination, and this was very prominent. I could tell you the stories that I heard all day, but we don't have enough time. Further, there were a lack of jobs. There was no electricity other than battery-powered homes, and that was a privilege. There was no plumbing or water filtration system. People had to walk miles to get their water. Additionally, the agricultural system proved difficult. It was highly unreliable. Women would have to walk distances to get to the market. There was a lot of vulnerability in that walk for these women. Oftentimes it was unsafe. Because of the agricultural system, there was a lot of malnourishment, a lack of transportation, and the education system existed. However, because of the extreme poverty, you found that children could not go to school, one, because they couldn't pay for tuition, or they needed to work. And oftentimes you saw children and women and men working without shoes on. That was prominent as well. Go ahead. Yet, in spite of these problems in the community, some of which are certainly associated with how the U.S. has treated foreign nations, particularly Haiti, there existed a fantastic community, the Shalom community, who call themselves HAPPY, or Haitian Artisans for Peace International. Nice name. But they consisted of a congregation, Paul, who was my supervisor, his congregation, a medical clinic, and artisans. Go ahead and go to the next slide. This is the co-op in the right corner, where the artisans would congregate to make journals. This is the left picture. They'd make journals, or they'd make other types of artwork. They would paint, they would sew, a wide variety of different artwork. Down here in the right corner is the medical clinic. There are trained staff. They don't work every day because it is difficult to fund the medical clinic. However, they have a Medica Mamba program, which is basically getting children who are malnourished the food that they need. And when teams come through Misac, oftentimes you will see large groupings of people coming to get medical treatment. In the left corner, this is underneath the tent that was also the congregation, also a pseudo school, impromptu school, I should say. But every Saturday there would be between 250 and 500 young children who would come and learn about peace. Paul, who was in the center, he was my supervisor, and he's kind of the community benefactor, the organizer, who brings all these children in. Sometimes they feed them, but essentially the message is about peace and creating a safe space for these children. While I was there, my role was to teach a little bit. I taught a little bit of theology. They were very interested in theology. Facilitated a lot of group work, and really kind of just hung out. That was what I enjoyed, hanging out with people there who were interested in having conversations. I observed 4 missions teams come through Haiti. A lot of them, the Shalom group talked about the problems of charity and what these groups were doing in Mizak. We began to develop a multi-faith perspective. A lot of the pastors do not work with each other in Mizak. People go to their separate corners, and it's very territorial, like Durrell experienced. And further, relating back to the theology that I taught, there were enormous questions about building the beloved community of Christ, or the beloved kingdom. There was this idea of sitting and waiting because they didn't believe that they could change the community themselves. And as we did group work, they began to realize, wait a minute, we have a role in this process. Just to give you an idea of the beautiful area, this is the mountain. I'm not all the way on top, but this is overlooking Jacmel, the 3rd largest city. I did go swim at the beach on that corner over there. It was fantastic. Go ahead. I took these 3 pictures. The sunsets, the nature was gorgeous. I wrote a lot of poetry. It was very inspirational. The cow, though, him and I was trying to get by him. And he didn't want me to go by. Eventually I did get around. Now, the earthquake had an enormous effect, and there was a lot of destruction. This is the National Palace that is still in ruins. And this is a building that, as you can see, was completely toppled. However, there is building going on, and there is hope. This is the house of worship that the communities of Shalom is building. And then up top is Madame Michelle, one of the microloan recipients from Happy, who is supporting herself with her own business in the community. Go ahead. Thank you. Finally, the community is moving toward this idea that, yes, we can do this as a community, and peace shall prevail. Like I just said, they're building a house of worship, and this is the peace pool that is in the center of, the center aisle of the house of worship. They're working to establish infrastructure goals, creating a sustainable economy for women. Example, the artwork that they do is sold in the U.S. They're creating markets. They have a vision to bring electricity and running water, clean water, to the Peace Park, but also to the entire community. And finally, the next generation is also learning about peace. Actually, if you would, I forgot to mention this. Go back a few slides. Keep going. Can you go back? Keep going, keep going. One more. One more. That one. Yeah. So I forgot to explain this picture. This is the Shalom zone, and around the Shalom zone is a wall. When I first got there, my first thought was, that seems kind of counterintuitive. You're going to put a wall around a space where you want to bring people in. But as I talked with the people, I discovered that that wall has an intentional purpose, and it's not to keep people out, but to bring people in and create a space that is different from everywhere else. You will walk down the street and you can see the despair. And Paul, who is my supervisor, his vision was to create a space where people know they can come that is so radically different than every other place. And that was my experience. I'd be happy to answer any other questions, concerns, thoughts, hopes, provocations later. But I think my time is up. Thank you.